Just imagine a man who has been alive for centuries. A man who possesses knowledge so extraordinary that he can observe the entire world. A man whose knowledge was greater than that of a prophet in a specific matter granted by Allah. The Quran introduces one of its most mysterious personalities, a servant of Allah who was blessed with a secret and extraordinary form of knowledge known as Ilm al-Ladunni, divinely bestowed knowledge. It was such a remarkable knowledge that Allah Himself sent Prophet Musa, Moses, peace be upon him, to learn from him. He knew things hidden from ordinary people through Allah's guidance, including matters of the past and future. Many stories even claim that he appears unexpectedly to help people while remaining completely unrecognizable. This is the story of Allah's special servant, Al-Khidr, peace be upon him. Who was Al-Khidr? Where is this mysterious figure who, according to many traditions, has remained alive for thousands of years? How can he be recognized? This is the story as told in the Quran and authentic hadith. According to Sahih al-Bukhari, hadith 4725. One day, Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, was preaching to the children of Israel when a man in the gathering suddenly asked him,
"O Musa, who is the most knowledgeable person on earth?"
Prophet Musa replied, "I am." Although Musa, peace be upon him, was one of Allah's greatest prophets, Allah did not approve of this answer because he had not attributed all knowledge to Allah. Immediately, revelation descended. Angel Gabriel, came to Musa and conveyed Allah's message. "O Musa, among my servants is one who has been granted knowledge that you do not possess. He lives at the place where the two seas meet." Musa, peace be upon him, asked, "My Lord, how can I meet him?" Allah replied, "Take a cooked fish and place it in a basket. Wherever you lose the fish, there you will find my special servant." This event is mentioned in Surat Al-Kahf, 1860-80. Without delay, Musa prepared for the journey. He took his young companion and student, Yusha ibn Nun, Joshua, and together they set off on an extraordinary journey. Days passed as the two travelers continued across the land. After a long journey, they reached a huge rock where overwhelming sleep overtook them. Prophet Musa lay down and fell asleep. Yusha remained awake. Then something truly astonishing happened. According to the narrations, beneath that rock flowed a miraculous spring known as the Spring of Life, Ab-i-Hayat. Allah had placed such a miracle in its water that anything touched by it would come back to life. Suddenly, a few drops of the water splashed onto the cooked fish lying inside the basket. Before Yusha's eyes, the fish came back to life. This miracle is mentioned in Sahih al-Bukhari, hadith 4727. The fish leapt out of the basket and headed toward the sea. Then something even stranger happened. Instead of simply swimming into the water, the sea opened before it, forming what appeared like a tunnel through the water. The fish disappeared inside it, leaving behind an extraordinary passage. Yusha stood frozen in amazement. He wanted to tell Musa immediately, but Musa was still asleep, so he decided to wait. This was the very sign Allah had promised. Soon, Musa would finally meet Allah's special servant, Al-Khidr. However, the journey was not yet over. When Musa awoke, they resumed traveling. Yusha completely forgot to mention the miracle of the fish because, as the Quran states, Satan caused him to forget it. Silently, he picked up the now empty basket and continued walking beside Musa. Sometime later, Musa became extremely tired and hungry. He said, "Bring us our food. This journey has exhausted us." When Yusha looked inside the basket and found it empty, the entire incident suddenly came back to his memory. He immediately told Musa everything that had happened. Musa exclaimed, "That is exactly the place we were searching for." Without wasting another moment, they retraced their footsteps until they returned to the rock where the miraculous event had taken place. There, they found an elderly man sitting upon a green cloak, wrapped completely in his garment. Musa instantly realized that this was Allah's special servant, Al-Khidr, peace be upon him. Neither the Quran nor the authentic Hadith explicitly explains whether Musa crossed the miraculous passage to reach Al-Khidr, or whether Al-Khidr himself emerged through it into their world. But what happened next would become one of the most extraordinary and thought-provoking stories ever recorded in Islamic history.
After Musa finally met Khidr, he greeted him with great respect and humility. Although Musa alayhi was one of the greatest prophets of Allah, he did not let his status stop him from seeking knowledge. Instead, he politely asked Khidr, "May I follow you so that you can teach me some of the knowledge Allah has given you?" Khidr looked at Musa alayhi and replied, "You will not be able to remain patient with me. How can you stay patient about things whose reality you do not know?" Musa alayhi answered with confidence and sincerity, "If Allah wills, you will find me patient, and I will not disobey you in anything." Khidr then accepted his request, but he placed one important condition before the journey could begin. He said, "If you follow me, then do not ask me about anything until I explain it to you myself." Musa alayhi agreed without hesitation because he truly wanted to learn the special wisdom that Allah had given to Khidr. With that promise made, the two noble servants of Allah started traveling together. They walked side by side, crossing valleys and open land until they reached the seashore. There they found a small boat owned by poor fishermen. The people recognized Khidr and welcomed both travelers onto the boat without charging them any money. The boat slowly sailed across the calm water, and everything seemed peaceful. But suddenly, Khidr stood up, went to one side of the boat, and made a hole in one of its wooden planks. Water began to enter the boat, and Musa alayhi was completely shocked. He could not understand why a righteous man would damage the boat of poor people who had just shown them kindness. Unable to remain silent, he said, "Have you damaged it to drown its people? Surely you have done a terrible thing." Khidr calmly looked at him and said, "Did I not tell you that you would not be able to remain patient with me?" Musa alayhi immediately realized that he had forgotten the condition. He apologized with humility and said, "Do not blame me for forgetting, and do not make this matter difficult for me." Khidr accepted his apology, and the journey continued, while the wisdom behind what had happened remained hidden for the time being. After leaving the boat behind, Musa and Khidr continued their journey on foot. They passed through villages and open fields until they came across a group of children playing happily together. The children were laughing, running, and enjoying themselves without any worries. Suddenly, Khidr walked toward one of the boys and took his life. Musa was completely stunned. This was far more shocking than what had happened with the boat. He could not believe what he had just witnessed. Unable to control himself, he immediately said, "Have you killed an innocent soul who has killed no one? Surely you have done a terrible thing." From everything Musa knew, taking the life of an innocent person was one of the greatest sins. He could not understand how such an action could ever be right. Khidr remained calm and looked at Musa with patience. He said, "Did I not tell you that you would not be able to remain patient with me?" This time, Musa felt even more embarrassed. He realized that he had once again forgotten his promise. With complete sincerity, he said, "If I ask you about anything after this, then do not keep me with you. You have every right to leave me because I have no excuse left." Khidr accepted what Musa said, and without revealing the reason behind his action, they continued their journey. Musa was trying his best to remain silent now, but his heart was full of questions. He knew there had to be a wisdom behind everything Khidr was doing, yet that wisdom was still hidden from him, and only Allah knew the truth behind what had just happened. After that, Musa and Khidr continued walking until they reached a town. They were tired and hungry after their long journey, so they asked the people of the town for some food or a place to rest. But the people refused to help them. They showed no kindness or hospitality, even though welcoming travelers was considered a noble act. As Musa and Khidr were leaving the town, they noticed an old wall that was about to collapse. It was leaning badly and could fall at any moment. Instead of ignoring it, Khidr walked toward the wall and carefully repaired it until it became strong again. Musa watched in surprise. He could not understand why Khidr would help people who had treated them so badly. If they had asked for payment, at least they could have bought food after being refused by the townspeople. So Musa respectfully said, "If you wished, you could have taken payment for this work." This was not an accusation like before, but it was still a question about Khidr's action. Khidr then stopped walking and said, "This is where we must part. I will now explain the meaning of the things about which you could not remain patient." At that moment, Musa knew that their journey together had come to an end, and the hidden wisdom behind every strange event was finally about to be revealed. Khidr then began to explain the truth behind the first event. He said, "As for the boat, it belonged to poor people who earned their living by working on the sea. I wanted to damage it because there was a king ahead who was taking every good boat by force. What had looked like an act of harm was actually an act of mercy. By making a small hole in the boat, Khidr saved it from being completely taken away. The fishermen would only need to repair a small damage, but if the king had seized the boat, they would have lost everything." Allah had revealed this hidden knowledge to Khidr, and he acted only according to Allah's command. Musa alayhis salam now began to understand that people often judge events only by what they can see, while Allah knows what is hidden in the future. Sometimes, a small loss protects us from a much greater disaster. What seemed unfair at first was actually a great blessing in disguise. The damaged boat was never meant to destroy the poor fishermen's lives. Instead, it became the very reason their livelihood was saved, proving that Allah's wisdom is always greater than human understanding, even when His plan seemed difficult to accept at first. Khidr then explained the second event. He said, "As for the boy, his parents were true believers, and we feared that as he grew older, he would lead them into disbelief and great hardship because of his rebellion. So we wished that their Lord would replace him with another child who would be better in purity and closer to mercy." This was one of the hardest lessons from Musa alayhis salam to understand, because no ordinary person can know what someone will become in the future. But Allah knows the unseen. He knows every heart, every choice, and every event before it happens. The boy's death was not an act of cruelty. It was part of Allah's perfect plan, protecting His believing parents from a future filled with pain and saving their faith. In time, Allah would bless them with another child who would bring peace, goodness, and righteousness into their lives. Through this explanation, Musa alayhis salam learned that human beings can only see the present moment, while Allah sees the beginning, the end, and everything in between. What appears to be a painful loss may actually be a hidden mercy that only becomes clear with time. And Allah's wisdom is always greater than the understanding of His creation. Khidr then explained the final event. He said, "As for the wall, it belonged to 2 orphan boys living in that town. Beneath the wall was a treasure that belonged to them, and their father had been a righteous man. Your Lord wanted them to grow up, become strong, and then discover their treasure as a mercy from Him. If the wall had fallen, the hidden treasure would have been exposed, and the dishonest people of the town might have stolen it before the children were old enough to protect it. By repairing the wall without asking for any payment, Khidr was actually guarding the future of those 2 orphans." He then made one final and very important statement. He said, "I did not do any of these things by my own choice. This was the command of Allah. That is the explanation of the things about which you could not remain patient." At that moment, Musa alayhi salam fully understood that every action during the journey had been guided by Allah's perfect wisdom. What had looked strange, unfair, or even wrong at first was actually filled with mercy, justice, and knowledge that no human being could have known on their own. This journey became a timeless lesson that Allah's plan is always perfect, even when we cannot understand it at the moment it unfolds. The journey of Musa alayhi salam and Khidr teaches one of the greatest lessons in the Quran. Human knowledge is limited, but Allah's knowledge has no limits. Every event that seemed confusing in the beginning was later shown to have a perfect purpose. The damaged boat saved the poor fisherman from losing everything. The death of the boy protected the faith of his parents and prepared the way for something better. The repaired wall protected the treasure of 2 helpless orphans until the right time came. These events remind us that we often judge our lives by what we can see today, while Allah is planning for what we cannot see tomorrow. Sometimes we lose something we love, sometimes our plans fail, and sometimes we face hardships that seem impossible to understand. But just as Musa alayhi salam learned that there was hidden wisdom behind every event, believers are reminded to trust Allah even when life does not make sense. His decisions are never without purpose, His mercy is never absent, and His wisdom is always greater than our understanding. Faith means believing that even during the hardest moments, Allah is guiding everything in the best possible way.
The story of Musa, A.S. and Khidr is not only about the past, it is a lesson for every person living today. We all experience moments when we ask, "Why did this happen to me?" We may lose opportunities, face difficulties, or go through painful experiences that seem unfair. In those moments, we only see one small part of the picture, just as Musa, R.S., saw only the surface of what Khidr was doing. But Allah sees the entire picture. He knows what has happened, what is happening, and what will happen in the future. A closed door may protect us from a greater harm. A delay may prepare us for something better. A hardship may bring us closer to Allah and make us stronger than we ever imagined. This story teaches us that patience is not weakness. Patience is trust in Allah's wisdom even when we do not understand His plan. True faith means believing that Allah never makes mistakes, that His mercy surrounds every decision, and that one day we may realize that what we once thought was a problem was actually a blessing hidden in a form we could not recognize. The story of Musa, A.S., and Khidr ends, but its message remains alive for every generation. It reminds us that Allah's wisdom is far beyond human understanding, and that not everything can be judged by what our eyes see. Sometimes the answers we seek do not come immediately, and sometimes we may never fully understand the reason behind certain events in this life. Yet a true believer continues to trust Allah, knowing that He is the most wise and the most merciful. Whenever you face difficulties, remember the boat, the boy, and the wall. What looked like loss became protection. What looked like pain became mercy, and what looked like an ordinary act became a blessing for the future. This is the beauty of putting complete trust in Allah. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to reflect on its lessons and share them with others, because one reminder can strengthen someone's faith and bring hope to a heart that is struggling. May Allah grant us patience like Musa, as wisdom to recognize his signs, and complete trust in his perfect plan. As we come to the end of this beautiful and powerful journey of Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, and Khidr, peace be upon him, let us pause for a moment and reflect on what Allah wants us to learn from this story. This was not simply a journey from one place to another. It was a journey of knowledge, patience, humility, trust, and faith in the wisdom of Allah. Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, was one of the greatest messengers of Allah. Yet Allah taught him that even a great prophet does not know everything that Allah knows. And this is one of the greatest lessons for every believer. No matter how much knowledge we have, there is always more that we do not know. Sometimes we look at a situation and immediately think, why is this happening to me? We may see something that appears to be bad, unfair, or painful, but Allah sees what we cannot see. Allah knows the beginning, the middle, and the end of every matter. The story of Musa and Khidr teaches us that what we understand as a loss may sometimes be protection. What we consider a hardship may sometimes be a hidden blessing. What we think is a delay may actually be Allah preparing something better for us, and what we do not understand today may become clear to us tomorrow. So when life does not go according to our plans, we should not lose hope. We should remember, Allah knows, and we do not know. This story also teaches us the importance of patience. Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, was asked to remain patient and not question everything before the explanation came. But human beings naturally want immediate answers. We want to know why something happened. We want to know when our difficulty will end. We want to know what Allah has planned for us. But sometimes Allah does not give us the explanation immediately. Sometimes He asks us to trust Him first, and that is where true faith begins. If you are going through something difficult right now, remember that your story is not over. You may only be seeing one small part of the picture. Allah sees the whole picture. So keep praying, keep trusting Allah, keep doing what is right, and keep your heart connected to Him. Never think that a difficult chapter means that Allah has abandoned you. Sometimes, the most difficult chapter of your life can be the chapter that brings you closest to Allah. And perhaps one day, when you look back, you will understand why Allah allowed you to walk through that difficult path. So let us take these lessons into our lives. Let us become people who are humble with our knowledge. Let us become people who are patient when we do not understand. Let us become people who trust Allah when life becomes difficult. And let us never forget that Allah's wisdom is greater than our understanding.